The final candidates for county offices that we meet are for Spokane County Sheriff. They are Ozzie Knezovich and Doug Orr. And we begin with our question, why are you running for this office, and why, if elected, are you the best person for the job? You each will have 1 minute, and we'll start with you, Mr. Knezovich.
First, I'd like to thank the League for putting this on, and citizens of Spokane County. It's been an honor to serve you as sheriff for the last 8 years. I'm running because I still have a great passion for this community, and I still have a great passion for the job that I do. I am the most qualified candidate because I am the only candidate that has proven leadership ability. My opponent is a City of Spokane police detective. He's never led any unit or any unit at all. Proven leadership that has brought low crime to this area. You enjoy the lowest violent crime rate in the last 20 years. You have property crimes that are down 8%. You have one of the best training units in the state. Leadership that worked with my partners in the community to bring back crime check. Mark, Richard, and I went down to Florida, and we brought smart justice to Spokane. We hired David Bennett to bring those principles here. We were part of the architecture of the blueprint for reform. And under my leadership, the Spokane County Jail became the only jail in the state of Washington to be certified to deal with mental health issues. These are all major milestones that leadership brought. It was the leadership that it was able to work with other partners, leadership that was strengthening this community and helping us to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Orr?
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Doug Orr, and I'm running for sheriff because we can do better. I've looked at law enforcement executives over my career, and it seems that they've been coming to work so that things could be the same as they were today, as they were yesterday, so they could retire tomorrow. I set out to create a different leader, someone who's educated, someone who's articulate. I have nearly 30 years of experience in law enforcement, 2 master's degrees and a PhD in criminal justice. That's led to me being appointed to the Violence and Firearms Panel, the National Institute of Justice. That's led to me being appointed to the International Law Enforcement Academy. So now I have leaders under me. I teach captains, police chiefs, and sheriffs. I teach leaders from around the world. And I'm endorsed by the Spokane County Sheriff's, the Deputy Sheriff's Association. And now I lead them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's take a little bit more look. You each have laid out some great credentials and things that you've done. How would you be using all of that talent as you move into the office and looking at what potential changes you might be considering? We'll start with you, Mr. Orr, 1 minute.
We're going to set out to fundamentally change the way we do business, and we've set out to do that through that blueprint of criminal justice reform. And if you look throughout that, it's just filled with evidence-based research programs. And if there's ever a person between the two of us that has experience with research, it's myself. I plan to do that. We're going to look at ways of reducing the jail population without building a new jail. We're going to look at owning the property crime problem and making it my fault, and looking at programs that'll increase the clearance rate, for instance, for 400%. And also citizens oversight. Again, I have the Deputy Sheriff's Association's endorsement. I want to propose, and I've told them, I'll lead you through this. It's something we can do together. It won't distract us from the good job we're doing, and it's going to be front to back.
Okay, Mr. Knezovich.
In the future, there are many things that we need to be paying attention to. One is rebuilding the CAD RMS system, which is a computer-aided dispatch system and record management system. Our current system runs DOS. It is hampering our ability to do real crime projection and tracking. I am working very diligent with the Board of County Commissioners in the city, and it looks like we will have that situation resolved come this early next year. We will be able to do real crime tracking. The blueprint for reform, my opponent says that he has the analytical ability. The problem that he forgets is I was one of the architectures for that blueprint. It was my ideas that were worked into that blueprint, and if you read the blueprint for reform, many of those ideas in there are mine. My opponent talks about 400% increase in solvability. The problem is I read his study. It's just a study. That in the last 4 paragraphs, it says it needs to be more vetted, and it is not ready to be put out nationwide.
Okay, so I guess I don't have to ask you if you support Smart Justice Initiative, but let's go into some more specifics about how the whole blueprint for reform would be implemented. And you'll each have a minute. We'll start with you, Mr. Knezovich.
The blueprint talks about programming, which we started in Spokane County in the 2008 timeframe. Since that time, we had massive budget cuts in the Spokane County Jail, which eliminated those programs. It was because of my partnership and my ability to work with partnerships in this community, like Judith Gilmore, that we were able to raise money and reestablish those programs. The thing that needs to be done with the blueprint for reform is it needs to be funded. There is no funding designated for that. We need to fund those ideas. Smart justice is a great concept. The problem is smart justice only works if you have, and it's a key element, an empty jail bed to hold people accountable. The reason we have repeat offenders in this community is because there is no accountability. The criminal knows that if they get arrested, they are going to be released on short order. We need to stop the career criminal, the repeat offender. I testified in front of the state senate last week concerning this, and those are the issues that we need to work towards. We need to work towards developing
Thank you. Mr. Orr, you have 1 minute.
The blueprint, if you've read it, it's voluminous, and it's broken down into sections between law enforcement, correction, and the courts. Specifically relating to law enforcement, though, what is needed right now is for the Deputy Sheriff's Department to participate in crisis intervention training. This exposes them to all facets of mental health, wellness, and disability. The city has done it. The county has not. There is absolutely no excuse for this. Bonner County has gotten all of their people through it. So that's something that needs to be done. It's going to be my first priority as it relates to the blueprint.
Okay, let's go 30 more seconds, because in your opening, Mr. Knezovich, you talked about having dealt with mental health. So can you address that?
I can. My opponent is actually factually wrong. We do have people that are being trained in CIT. Matter of fact, we're working on train-the-trainer aspects for CIT. My opponent forgets that Spokane County Sheriff's Office and the City of Spokane were leaders in excited delirium training, which was developed in 2007 and implemented. We were cutting edge in the United States on that. We took that training and modified it to deal with mental health aspects and mental health situations throughout the gambit. So when my opponent says that there's been no training in that, he's factually wrong. He does not know the Sheriff's Office, nor does he have any factual knowledge of leadership of making sure that those things are done. CIT is just one training component. We have multiple training components that we have worked on. And again, because of my leadership, the Spokane County Jail is the only jail in the state of Washington that is certified to deal with mental health issues. The reason we did that was to break the revolving door of mental health. I sit on the board of Frontier Behavioral, and we work on these type of situations.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Orr?
I don't think I'm factually incorrect. I've participated in the training. I've been trained in CIT. The county deputy sheriffs haven't had the 40-hour course yet. I'm going to implement that. That's a fact.
Okay, we're going to go on into some other areas at this point, and I guess just to launch right in, the citizens are dealing with the dueling initiatives on gun safety, 591, 594. Some of you have been more vocal than others, so we all know these initiatives concern background checks and registration of sales of firearms. Some law enforcement agencies, organizations prefer 591. Other individual officers prefer 594. I'd like you to please clarify your positions on these initiatives and how you see either one or both of those, how, if they pass, how it affects you as law enforcement officers. So we'll start with you, Mr. Orr. 1 minute.
1 minute. Perhaps well-intended. However, we do know that a background check will prohibit certain people from getting firearms. But we do also know that it doesn't reduce gun violence. And as these initiatives go forward, it really doesn't matter. What we think is that the will of the people are going to prevail. What it does amount to, though, is a large workload or a significant workload on the sheriff's office for processing this initiative. I care to side on the side of the citizens. I believe that they know how to protect themselves. Being overly burdensome on their management of firearms, I need their help in this community. They know how to protect themselves.
Okay, Mr. Knezovich?
Unlike my opponent, I will answer the question. I support 591. The reason I support 591 is because it makes Washington law consistent with national law. There's no argument that background checks are something that needs to be done. I oppose 594 because it is 18 pages of bad law. It doesn't take 18 pages to say you shouldn't, you need to have a background check in order to purchase a firearm. It just doesn't. It is full of unfounded mandates for the sheriff's office. It's full of unfounded mandates for business owners in the community that sell weapons. It is also likely to really affect the citizens because of one word. It's transfer. The law does not say, 594 does not say sell. It says transfer of a firearm, which could lead to a multitude of different scenarios for citizens. So 591 is stronger law. If they're both passed, this will be one of those situations that the state Supreme Court will have to work out.
Okay, thank you. Do either of you, do you want to say anything more on the initiatives, Mr. Orr?
No.
Okay. Please outline your philosophies on using police assets. How would you organize the sheriff's department if you'd make any changes? There seems to be increasing cooperation and a coordination among area law enforcement entities. Can you give us a quick rundown on who's involved, why, what you would do? 1 minute, and we start with you, Mr. Knezovich.
Again, if you look at the blueprint, there's a section in law enforcement, and it recommends the combination of certain law enforcement duties, intelligence, the drug and gang components. In April of last year, we formed a property crimes task force within this region that extends not just for Spokane County, but it extends into Kootenai County, involves Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, and Kootenai County. Why did we do this? Criminals do not respect nor do they follow jurisdictional boundaries. We have developed a very strong partnership in doing so. It is only through active cooperation and partnership that we're going to be able to overcome our crime problem. No agency can afford, nor are they structured anymore to handle these situations alone. You have to have strong partnerships. You have to be able to work with your partners. And I can tell you that we have very strong partnerships. We have just combined the gang unit and the drug task force into one in order to save money.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Orr.
And I have a different take on it. None of that works unless you consider the employee to be the greatest asset you have. At the sheriff's office right now, morale is way down, and apathy is very high. And I'll share with you the running joke. The door, or the sign on the door of the Comstat room, Comstat, since 1994, it's been spelled C-O-M-P-S-T-A-T. Everybody knows that. Now, don't be distracted by the fact that it's misspelled. But my opponent walks by it every day for the last 3 years that it's been posted, and is completely oblivious to it. And the attitude at the sheriff's department is that nobody can correct him. When I'm elected sheriff, that's going to change.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Knezovich. Oh, now we're going to go to closing statements, and you each have 1 minute, and we start with Mr. Knezovich.
Mr. Orr, as you notice, that sign has been there since my predecessor. My predecessor put that there. We don't use that room for that purpose, nor do we have that program. We have intelligence-led policing. Ladies and gentlemen, my opponent keeps mentioning the Deputy Sheriff's Association. Yes, the Deputy Sheriff's Association did endorse him, but he fails to tell you that the 3 other law enforcement unions did endorse me: Forensics, Radio, Dispatch, and lieutenants and captains. In August, you sent a message that standards matter when you gave me a 72% victory in the primary. I hope you send that mandate clearer, because my opponent talks about endorsing the ombudsman, but he fights legislation that says law enforcement officers should not commit crimes on duty nor lie. The Deputy Sheriff's Association is upset with me. because I proposed that legislation that said that they should not lie or commit crimes on duty. They also stated that I have too high moral standards. There is no such thing as too high moral standards for a law enforcement agency.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Orr, you have 1 minute.
The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. So it's ironic to me that the people that he proposes to lead are all endorsing me. I am proud to be endorsed by the Spokane County Deputy Sheriff's Association, but I'm also proud to be endorsed by the jail. I'm endorsed by the jail nurses. I'm endorsed by the firefighters. I'm endorsed by WACOPs, 4,500 members strong. That should say something, that law enforcement is endorsing Doug Orr for sheriff. Now, you trust these men and women with your lives. I'm asking you to trust them for your vote. Vote for me in November. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you to the candidates for Spokane County Sheriff. They are Ozzie Knezovich and Doug Orr. Thank you.